Okay, I'll call this meeting to order at 7:01. First off, we have to amend the agenda. We have an extra delegation here. Eric Burton from Factor 5. I'd like to put him as delegation 3. Okay, somebody would like to make a motion to adopt the agenda?
I'll make that motion.
We just need a motion to make the amendment to the
All right.
agenda.
Yeah, you're supposed to make, that's what I was asking you, make the motion to put
I'll
him in.
make that motion to amend it.
All in favor? Carried. Now a motion to adopt the amended agenda.
I'll make a motion to adopt the amended agenda as presented.
All in favor? Carried. Okay, onward. First up, we have Solar Wind Project. Jason and Scott, they have a slide presentation, so I'd ask you to come up and you drag a couple of chairs up. Or
Oh, it's right at the bottom. And you can use the mouse right
Oh,
there
yeah,
beside
there
you. This works.
Perfect, thank you.
Mouse is ready to go.
Well, okay. Well, good evening. Thank you very much for having us here. I'm Jason Atkinson. I'm the Director of Operations for our distributed generation at ENMAX. So I've been with ENMAX. I started all the research and development with them in around 2005 to do with renewables and solar and all those sorts of things. And my business actually was their franchise. So yeah, I've been with them a while and excited to be here today. We've put together a proposal for the town that I think you'll be happy with, and we'll move forward. So I'll just start going through the slides here. This first slide just shows what a great solar resource we have in Alberta. When you compare it to somewhere like Germany, Germany gets like 4.4 sun hours on average, where we get upwards of 6 in this area, right? So we have a great solar resource and we need to take advantage of it. You can see we're number 6 globally. So Calgary, Alberta is right there kind of in the middle. If you look all the way to the right, the yellow line indicates the kilowatt of capacity of solar they have installed. In Germany's way down the list there, but they have the most installed at this report time. So just to put it into perspective. So ENMAX Solar, so basically we do a full turnkey system. You sign an agreement with us, sit back, and everything just comes together. So we've been doing that. We do everything. We engineer, procure, construct, all that. Full turnkey. And with our finance products, you get a bumper-to-bumper warranty with the amortized term. So, which works out really well. Behind the meter advantage, this is where solar started to make sense in Alberta, is when the microgeneration rule came in. And what it enabled you to do is put a generating asset on your facility that you can't produce any more with the solar than you use, but when you aren't using all the energy it's producing, you can export that energy and get paid for it. And up to 150 kilowatts AC, you get paid whatever your rate is. Whatever your retail rate is you're signed up as, that's what you get. Anything over the 150, you get the on-peak rate. So it settles per day. Any given interval you're getting paid for the on-peak price. So that's what we call net billing. It's not net metering. The other great advantage of it is whenever you use the power in your facility, on your transmission and distribution side, there's stuff that toggles. There's kilowatt hours down here that toggle with the kilowatt hours up here. So if you bring this down incrementally, you're going to bring this down as well. So you do save on the transmission and distribution side as well as the export. As I mentioned, we have 2 financing swim lanes at ENMAX. We had our original product was a lease, but with certain funding programs, they would not allow a lease. And the reason for that is they want the title to transfer to you right away. So the MCCAC or the AUMA will not accept that. They accept our deferred payment. The difference between the two is the lease is a lease. The title stays with ENMAX. There's a 5% residual at the end of it. And you can amortize the term anywhere from 5 to 20 years or anything in between. The deferred payment is just like an equal payment loan. No different than if you went and bought a vehicle and you just had a 60-month equal payment. That's what it is. And we do the same thing with that product from 5 to 20 years. And the other option you have there is to pay on the deferred payment. You can either amortize the GST or you can pay the GST up front. It's up to you, whatever way you want to do it, whatever's best for your business. We can also put in things to mimic the energy curve and energy escalations by, fixing your payment so that it mimics what you pay for your utility bill now or your energy. And you can buy this system out at any time. We don't penalize you for forward interest, anything like that. That's not what we're in to do. And as I said, if you amortize it over 20 years, we bumper to bumper warranty you for 20 years and we give you a production guarantee. So we're in this together. And we're now at 96% of our customers, we have over 1,000 sites, they finance with us. So you can purchase from us, not a problem. There's a 5-year workmanship, and then you revert back to the manufacturer warranties. How we deliver, back in the day when we first got funding through the Climate Change Emissions Management Corporation, we wanted to just kind of launch our solar program in Calgary. They told us you can't do that. So they said you got to do it border to border. You got to do all of Alberta. So I have a extensive mechanical HVAC background, and I used to, in the HVAC world, you have Lennox dealers, Carrier dealers, so I thought we need to create a dealer network and support the local contractors in the communities. And these are our group that are all over Alberta. In this zone, it's Solar Wind Energy out of Lethbridge. That would be in your, this is their territory as a dealer. So the other thing with solar is you can get very inexpensive solar or you can get good solar. One thing we've been doing is a lot of research and development since 2005. We know what inverter companies are working and last, and we know what module companies are going to be there. I've been to the biggest solar shows in the world, and when I first started going to them, there was just so many module manufacturers. Well, last year, we're down to like half a dozen real bankable ones, and that's because the rest of them are going out of business. And your warranty's no good if they're not there, and that's why companies like LifeGood, a $200 billion company that we're partnered with, SMA and SolarEdge and Fronius, the inverter companies that actually invert the energy, they've been in business for, SMA's been putting inverters in for the longest. They started installing inverters in 1981, so they're just proven, and that's why we stick with them. Microgeneration, I touched on this. So basically, if you look at that, the sun shines down on the home, the DC energy is created, goes down into an inverter, the inverter inverts it, and it goes into your infrastructure. And I call it is the left or right look. If the home can use the power or business, it uses it. But if it only needs 50% of it, it exports the other 50%, and you got a bidirectional meter, and you're paid back by the utility for the energy you export to the grid. So that's how it works, and that's why it's called net billing. So one thing about solar, very, very high public acceptance, 100% renewable generation, silent operation, very low maintenance. You don't have moving parts. You're moving electrons, right? You're not moving. It's not like a wind turbine where you got those moving parts going on, right? So they need a lot more O&M or maintenance, or even solar domestic hot water. A lot more maintenance included. But this, you're just moving electrons, so there's not a lot of moving parts. It's really good. It displaces delivered electricity. Basically, what that means is on your transmission and distribution side, you will save money as well. Excess generation sold to the grid, so that's your best return, especially when you're selling it on peak. Last year, we saw a huge shift in the market because the on-peak settlement on average for about the last 3 years before last year was about $20 a megawatt hour. Last year, on average, it was up at 74. So we saw a huge shift in that. And that's just capacity coming offline. The heavy emitters were getting carbon taxed and hit. So that's why that big change happened. So we give you, again, a full warranty, bumper-to-bumper warranty with a trusted partner, ENMAX. That does include hail. I get that question all the time, just so you know. The one thing that we really like about solar energy is that you're hedged. You know what you're paying for that energy for 30 years and beyond. Okay, so the LG modules actually come with a 30-year performance guarantee. So what you know is that for 30 years, they're backing that module for performance. So you do know what you're going to get, right? And then this is my favorite one, is the remote monitoring. Solar talks to you. You can be anywhere. You can have the app on your phone. You can have it anywhere. And if it's not happy somewhere, it actually emails you. It says, hey, I'm not happy. And if you have an optimized system, which we've priced for you here, it can actually pinpoint it right down to the module level of where it's not happy. And a lot of it can be fixed remotely, right? So that's what's really another great thing, just with my O&M background. So roof-mounted solar, we take into all these considerations. So it adds 3 to 7 pounds per square foot to the facility. The facility on the right there is the Duke Rec Center. It's still holding as the largest in the country. It's about to be overturned by Airdrie. We're just finishing Airdrie up now. and they'll take the crown. So, but anyways, so basically we do everything. Two things you want to have to be sure with solar is that you want to make sure the building can take it so it doesn't fall through, and you want to make sure it doesn't get airborne off the building. So we do all that engineering for you and make sure it's put in properly. Longevity, most panels are warranted for workmanship for 12 years, and they have a 25-year performance. With LG, which we're presenting today, you get a 25-year workmanship and a 30-year performance. So again, this is the type of stuff that you basically get what you pay for, right? Maintenance, again, if there's issues with the system, and say the system doesn't perform the way we've told you, we will come out and fix it. That's what we do. We have to clean the modules. If we have to put more solar in, whatever we have to do to get you to make it right, we will do it. Ground mount and solar carports. The difference here is that we are building the structure that the solar is going to go on, where flush mount or buildings is the most inexpensive way to deliver solar. Okay, so this does cost more per watt because you have to put foundation in, you're building a structure. And that's it. So all the same warranties, maintenance, all that stuff we go through with this. We've just finished constructing 2 very large carports. One of them is in Raymond. It's 400 kilowatt at the Vic Park football stadium. That was to offset all their street lights and the rest of their loads in the town to get them net zero. That's our disclaimer. That's our legal. Make sure you put that in there. But the funding that you're going to have eligible for is the Alberta Municipal Solar Program. There is still about $4.4 million in there. It's moving out fairly quickly, but there is still money there, and they're not. It's staying. It's the program's there as long as the money's there until 2022. So basically, it works out generally. In most cases, you get 30% of the capital cost covered, up to $1.5 million. So that's the way the program works. There is price per watt there, so it's the lesser of whatever the 3 are, right, is what you'll get. Generally, it works out to be 30%. Okay, so here's the sites that we looked at and plotted. The Claresholm Arena, the water treatment plant, the fire station, the town shop, for a total of 850 kilowatts roughly, which your estimated harvest would be over a megawatt. About a 1071, you can see it there, megawatt hours a year. So this is the arena. One thing I can tell you right out of the gate, arenas work really well with solar just because of the way the load profile is. So and the other thing is most arenas are 480 volt, because 90% of our inverters we get, because of the US demand, are 480. So that helps, right? They marry up together very well. So the Claresholm Arena is, we plotted 282.8 kilowatts DC. That's a total of 707 LG 400 modules. Okay, very similar to Raymond's Arena. It's just the difference is it's a barrel, right? And the first year production will come out to 288.9 megawatt hours. And that will get you guys net zero there. So you're going to be producing as much as you're consuming at the arena. And then in the summer months when the arena and the ice goes out, you're now producing it on peak. You're exporting all that energy and you're building that big credit, right? For when you have to buy back in the winter, possibly, right? So this one, I don't know why that's sitting there. I like that. Good, it didn't go up. So this one, the capital cost, there, you can hardly see that, is about just over $527,000, $527,940, or $1.87 a watt. We talk watts in the industry. So the government funding would work out to be $158,382, and after funding, you'd be looking at $369,558 or $1.31 a watt. So the funding makes a significant difference in this. So if you just said to me, Jay, look, I don't want to put any capital in, just I'm going to sign the funding over to you, what could you do for me? Well, what we can do is just take the money, the $158,000 from the MCCAC, and apply it as your down payment. And then we amortize the rest. This is a 15-year look, 180 month. That would get you to a 3% APR, and your monthly payment for the solar would be $27.34.39. So, and that's the type of thing. And generally, what you find is you're going to become cash positive or cash neutral, depending on where the market is. The big thing is that it does give you a good return. And I always say this, what's the return on investment for the grid type power you buy every day? There isn't one. This is actually, you're putting something in that's going to be a long-term generating asset for the facility. The water treatment plant, to get it net zero, we put 528.8 kilowatts DC. This is a ground mount system. So that consists of 1,356 LG 390 bifacial modules. Bifacial module, a little different than what we put on roofs. We put standard backsheet modules on roofs. The reason why we put with our ground mount bifacials in is it actually is a dual-sided cell. So there's 2 cells, and it allows the light through, and any reflection back, it boosts the production of the modules. So they're very efficient, and that's why we've got them in here. With this system, we got SMA inverters. Remember I mentioned them. They've been putting them in 1981. And that would get the treatment plant net zero electrically as well. So this one works out to be in just over 1,168,478 or 221 a watt. Now, if you looked at the previous arena, you notice the price per watt is lower, and that's because I got to build the structure and put the foundation in, right? So the government funding, which I'll mention, there's a first-time applicant bonus, and it's an additional 25 cents a watt up to $250,000. We've applied that to the largest system, which you applied here to maximize the 250 for you, and that's what we've done. So the total cost after funding is $718,998 or $1.36 a watt. So again, if you just took the payment, if you just said, look, I'll just sign the MCCCAC money over to you, you don't put any money in, and you'd be paying $53.68.73 at a 3% APR, annual percentage rate. And again, you get the warranties. This one was a major offset. What we do is we look for sites that you could put more solar on, and you could actually offset all your street lighting and other things. Just like in Raymond with the carport, we've done that. Sterling, we put a ground mount right in the town to offset their street lights. Similar situation in Warner. We actually in Warner are going to be putting more solar on their arena. They expanded their arena to actually offset their street lights. So it's just a little different approach. So this one consists of 2,568 LG 390 bifacial modules and SMA inverters, and this is going to get you guys like the rest of your stuff offset, right? That you would need. So, and it's just, we gave you the 2 options on the ground mount just to show you that we believe you got room there. And the other good thing with water treatment plants is generally the service is there. You got the 3-phase power, you got the service that can handle the solar, and that's why we like those facilities. So for it. So this one worked out to being $2,202,955 or $220 a watt. The funding works out to $850,000. Again, that bonus is in there, so you know. And then this one after funding works out to $1,352,955 or $1.35 a watt. So again, just use the $850 as your down payment. Your monthly payment will come to $10,103.92 at 180 months and at a 3% annual percentage rate again in our bumper-to-bumper warranty. So that's kind of that one played out. Then we did the fire station. Lot smaller system. It's about 20. It's going to be 20 kilowatts DC. So this has 54 LG 370s on it. Just a better fit for the facility with that size of module, and it's going to produce about 20 megawatt hours a year. And again, if you look at the price, it's $49,531 or $248 a watt. When you get into smaller, it's scalable, right? So it's because it's a smaller system, the price per watt is higher. Is generally the way it goes. So the funding for this site would be $14,859, and $1.73 a watt is what it works out to, or $34,000, just over $34,000 after the funding's applied. So again, just apply the funding. Your monthly payment would come out to $239.43, an APR of 3% on this one. And then the town shop, and it's 19.2 kilowatts DC, and it has 52 LG 370s on it. Again, it's flush mount, and it's non-penetrating. This is non-penetrating your roof. We actually clipped the seam of the roof, so it's another thing. It's not going to harm your warranties on your roof or anything like that. So we really work hard not to penetrate roofs at NMAX. So this one worked out to $47,835.50, $249 a watt. Again, the funding's at $14,351. After funding, we're at $33,485 or $1.74 a watt. So again, if you just took the funding as you're down, it's kind of very similar the whole way through. Now, you can, just to be clear, we take a minimum of 10% down and a maximum of 75% on our loans. If you get up over 50% of the capital cost, I can take the annual percentage rate down under 2%. Okay, it's just, I have a hurdle rate, I have some money over time, so that's what we can do. So for NMAX, when we look at a generating asset, we look for an IRR, an internal rate of return, of 6% or higher. So every one of these we would build. If it was a generating asset we were looking into for a long-term asset. So what the first column represents is you got to compare the solar energy to grid-tied energy, and it represents a levelized cost of energy is what it's called. So the levelized cost of energy for the solar energy over 25 years, which is a 25-year snapshot because it's the generalized way of doing things. A lot of banks now are using 40-year in the US to figure out the levelized cost because it's going to generate for that long a period, right? So the Claresholm Arena works out to 8 cents a kilowatt hour. The net present value, we use a discount rate of 3%. So if you invested your money at 3%, you'd be zero. You can see that it's a lot higher than that. It's like $305,000 or an IRR of 17.9%. So it's a winner. The site's a winner for solar. Most arenas are. The water treatment plant worked out really good. Now, the water treatment plant worked out really, really good because we have that bonus on it, right? So it got the levelized cost of energy down to 6 cents, right? And you're cash positive there, right out of the gate. And the net present value is over $1 million. So it's a real good one. It's 89.9%, but you'll be cash positive there, right out of the gate, which the IRR wouldn't calculate. And then the town shop, again, it's a smaller system and again, more expensive out of the gate. So you're looking just over 10 cents on the levelized cost. And you're looking at a net present value of $12,286. The IRRs are still there for both facilities. See, they're up over 10, double digits. So it's a good investment, right? So everything here we do there's always subject to structural engineering. Engineering drives the bus. The structural engineering, if the structure can't take it, we have to look elsewhere or do something different, right? Municipal permitting approvals, we've built solar in Claresholm, so we know it's good. No issues there. The electrical engineering and design approvals, that's what we do when we get into those stages, and microgeneration and interconnection approvals, which there won't be any issues. And then the AMSP solar program, we just have to meet their terms and conditions, which we work with them every day. So, and we've got the most municipal solar installed in Alberta. Now, there's two ways for next steps. If you decided you wanted to move forward, there's a step of a letter of intent to see which projects are real. So what we do there is get into the engineering and those sorts of things. Or you move right to contract. And the contract you can cancel at any time. The only thing we ask you on the contract is that if we had put any out-of-pocket expenses into it, like I had to bring my structural engineer out and he walked around and did stuff and there's a $700 bill for his time, that's what we would look for. If we went into the agreement and you cancel, we just look for out-of-pocket expenses. Other than that, you can cancel at any time, no penalty. We're not locking you into a mortgage or anything here. We're very flexible that way. So we've built a lot of municipal solar. The building on the left, I always keep the Mosaic Center in there because it was one of the largest systems in Western Canada for a long time. And what makes that building really, really unique is it's net zero, period. It's a net zero building. No gas line to it. It's all powered off of solar. It actually has geothermal heat pumps and everything. It's a living, breathing building. You can go up there when it's minus 25 out and the air conditioning is running in that building. It's cooling dominant. That's how well that building's designed and energy efficient. That's why I keep it in there. It's in Edmonton. Yeah, Dennis Cuckoo and Christy Cuckoo built it. It was their concept. They wanted to be the first LEED Platinum in Canada, and they achieved it, so they did good. And then Devon, I keep it in there. They were very early adopters. There was a time when we were putting solar in, we would get a 10 kilowatt system and just go on like that. Was just huge. And Devon stepped up way back with us and put 100 kilowatts, and we thought we hit the jackpot. Like, it was unbelievable. So I always keep it in there as a memory. And Cardston, we wrapped up Cardston 2 years ago now. So we did their Civic Center and their arena, another barrel type arena. Just about to enter. We're just now working on the engineering for their new 1.9 megawatt ground mount site. They're going net zero as well. They're jumping in full tilt. So And then just flagship stuff, the Duke Rec Center. You know, Brazeau County, we've done a lot with the county up there. Probably a dozen sites with them, with their fire halls and all over. Big county, so there's lots of buildings, lots of area up there, yeah. And then the Camrose in Canada Center, that one right there was the first LG system in Canada. We put in 360 kilowatts. You notice the strip down the center, that big strip? I couldn't put solar there because all the chilled water hanging loads and the Jumbotron for the hockey team was there. So I couldn't put solar on there. So, you know, see, that's what happens when you do the due diligence, right? You know, your engineers know, right, where you can go and can't go. So, that's me on there, and I'll be happy to answer any questions. I've got cards as well. I just didn't know how much time I had, so.
Great.
That's great. Any questions?
The
Observation.
Agriplex be another one possibility?
Yeah.
Those two
Any of the buildings could be.
The Agriplex we looked at, I plotted that 4 years ago, 3 years ago. So we did it. Now there's another, that was back before the other facility was built. But yes, we can, absolutely can be looked at. It's got the perfect roof for it, standing seam. It's great. So.
Excellent.
Raymond was leased, right?
Raymond is a deferred payment.
Oh, is it?
It's all deferred payment in Raymond. Yeah, because it was funded through the MCCEC.
Okay.
When we had our Climate Change Emissions Management Corporation, they allowed us to lease. So Leduc's leased, Brazeau's leased, Camrose is leased, you know, because the funding allowed us to do that. So, yeah, so that's, and they're a 15-year amortized term. And we're just wrapping up their carport. We're about to launch it and get it running. And the Airdrie, they put 75% down, and it's 1,550 kilowatts going on Genesis Place. They're taking the title. We're about July 10th is the ribbon cutting and media event there, so it'll be pretty a lot of fun. And we're just about to build a expand Shepherd compost facility in Calgary, 3.2 megawatts. So just lots going on all over. So
That's great.
How are the solar credit rates arrived at?
oh, so you're talking about the microgen credits?
Yeah.
So they're arrived at, like I say, so if you have a system that's under 150 kilowatts AC in capacity, you get paid whatever the rate is you agreed to or signed with your retailer, or whatever the regulated rate is. We call it the RRO. So when you export that energy, you just merely get credited. If you're paying $60 or 6 cents, you get credited back your 6 cents. With the over 150, you're on what's called an interval meter. So at any given 15-minute interval, it's looking at your energy, and you're getting paid at that, and they settle that daily for you. So you can settle it. So Leduc, they settled in June at $484 a megawatt hour. They paid their lease payments for the entire year out of that one big on-peak month. Yeah, Bruce Knisley, he was very excited to see that because we were struggling at $20. You're getting paid 2 cents for this on-peak energy forever, and then all of a sudden, boom! Like I said, last year it lit up. Like wow, the credits were massive. And with the utility, you have choices with it, right? If you don't want to claim the credits, and you want a check from the utility, you can't claim the credits then. But they have 12 months to settle with you. So it's whatever way you want to go. Most people just take the credits. Because you're gonna pay for energy, right? So you might as well just carry it, right, and move it forward.
How do you determine whether you have peak or not?
Oh, it's
back
just
into
time of day. It's
That's-
time of day.
That's it.
That's what does it. Yeah, time of day. Like if you're hitting high noon and it's hot and all these air conditioning loads are lighting up, that's what drives, right? That's what drives price. So, and that's when you're producing the most, right? And that's why the arenas. You're sitting there idle, really low load. You're exporting all that energy every day at on peak, all summer long, right? And then and if you can get really good with your plant operator, and when he goes to start the plant, make sure he starts it around noon, right? Pull your there's many ways you can. You just don't want to hit that ratchet because your demand will be set for 12 months, right? So that's there's tricks. We're doing a lot of stuff with storage right now too. We've got peak shavers in, which is that sort of thing. So when we start to see your demand go, we can unload a battery bank and pulls it and just holds it below that 85%. So you never have that big demand charge. We're doing some R&D with that. We're doing a big storage facility right now. And it's a 1.2 megawatt ground mount system with a megawatt of storage with LG. We're doing that project right now. So just different things we do. And power factor correction is another thing we're really on top of right now because it can save you a lot of money as well.
Especially in the arena.
Especially in
The arena,
yeah.
I think the area is
Yeah.
about 78 is your power factor. It should be well over 80.
It should be well over 80. A lot of the stuff we find, and especially in towns and villages, the actual AUC requirement for power factor, a lot of it's right on the minimum requirement. Right? You're not in the 80s or 90s. You're right on the line, right? So. The other thing we do is we shoot videos for you. We shoot commercials for you that you can use on your website and everything. I have some here, but I don't know if I have the time to show one. But it's up to you.
Do you have Raymond?
Yeah, I think I do. Yeah, I do. I think.
I guess we're gonna watch it.
One thing is, I think the sun's down, so you have to turn the sound up.
Oh, okay. Where am I going here? Let's get out of there.
Just another question, those
Yeah.
ground mounted ones, what's it like on the vegetation underneath? Like that wouldn't get the sun or the rain on it, so the grass would die?
Yeah, well, no, it actually grows, but it just doesn't grow as it would, right? Because you are shading. Is that gonna go?
They're actually doing research at the Lethbridge Agricultural Research Center on different crops that they can put underneath the bifacial modules. They're finding that a lot of the cereal crops are getting far too much sun and getting burnt. And so that if they actually put the bifacial modules over them, they shade them enough, they maintain the moisture better, and they actually are harvesting better. So that's the research that's going on there right now.
So there's the second shot is happening. We're just waiting for the nice weather. If you remember last year, when we shot this last year, we came down. It was a beautiful day, but if you remember the fires with the smoke, can you see like it just did not? We realized it was. We got down there. We thought we're here anyway. Let's shoot it, and we did it anyway. So that's a barrel roof, and that's what we call an east-west plot. We've learned a lot about solar over the years where you just don't need a due-south plot. East-west works very good. It follows low profile, you get sun, you get good harvest. Now, the reason why, if you notice that big white center there, we stayed away from that because that was a Duralast roof and we would have affected their warranty. So we stayed down on the asphalt and kept everything in good standing. And that's the types of things we do. That's a ballasted rooftop system. So that's actually just held down by ballast blocks. It's not mounted to anything. We call that a floating solar system. It's sitting there on the roof, and we have it engineered so that it will not come off the roof. There's enough ballast weight there to hold it on.
And they're all connected, all the frames are connected as well.
Yeah, they're interconnected. Yeah. The other thing they did, Warner, Sterling, and Raymond got together and we did the Ridge Water Treatment Plant as well. We put 280 kilowatts there, so they are net zero there as well.
How bad did the smoke affect their?
The harvest, it wasn't too bad. We still hit our numbers. It was good, yeah. You still do. That's the one thing I really like about solar. The wind doesn't blow. It doesn't blow, but you can have a cloudy day and you can still be harvesting with solar, right? Like so. This is the golf course. So they had 2 meters there. They had one for their maintenance facility and then they had one for the clubhouse. So we split it and got. Anytime we can utilize a roof, that's our preferred path. Because it's already there, we can put it on, and it's the most inexpensive way to deliver it. There's the clubhouse. There's plenty of sites around we have down here. If you guys wanted to do a tour, we could take you. I mean, we finished up Lethbridge County this year as well. But Raymond is... The one thing about Raymond and even Sterling and Warner is they pretty much got every type of solar. From ground mount to ballasted to flush, but like just everything, a carport. So it's really educational because you can see everything, every type of solar. So, and generally what we do now with these is this is going to be re-edited again. We're going to reshoot though, and then we do interviews. So we interview the town and make a commercial for you that you can market with, right? That's their maintenance facility. So the sports park, we put solar on the actual roofs where we could, but I drove around with Curtis there, Pratt. We drove around that town looking for a plot to to get the offset for the streetlights and everything. And we were there looking at the site one day, and I was standing in the middle of the parking lot. I said, "Let's put it right here." He says, "What?" I said, "Yeah, you can put a solar carport in here. We'll go right down the middle, double wing." And so it's in now. It's in there. You can see it, but it covers that whole length. The whole center is full of solar there. And again, he had a transformer in the field there that was feeding all this. That was 480 volts, so it all just was the perfect fit for it. Right? It worked out really well. It's a beautiful stadium they got there.
Wow.
That's that.
Interesting.
Does he make cards?
Sure, for sure.
That's down there. Thanks, Dave.
Oh, you're very welcome. The other thing we can do also to complement the solar is we can model retail energy contracts for you to help maximize the potential of the solar. That's the other thing we do. That's what we do. We make, move, and sell electrons. So this is another way of doing it.
Sell electrons.
Too short.
That's where we got lost.
Marion's got one, so
that's good.
Yeah, Marion's got
Anybody with
it.
That's the most important one.
Yeah.
Marion.
Thanks.
All right, any other questions?
Thanks again for
Well,
having us.
thank you.
Appreciate it.
Greg,
And,
appreciate it.
we certainly will discuss it. All right, next up. Yeah, you can cover that.
We're gonna leave it on because they're gonna use it as well.
Just for a minute.
Well, you don't have to, you can cover it,
Yeah, that's what I mean.
but.
We'll just leave it covered for a minute.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll invite AUMA up. Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
And we get a couple of chairs.
Just steal a couple of chairs here.
There's one there. Oh, wait, yeah, steel
I
bread.
was gonna say, it'd be if one of the council didn't get to sit one. No, that's good.
He's got one.
Oh, you can get my chair out of my
He's got one
office.
right there. So these two are perfect.
There we go.
Hello.
Hello.
Barry, how are you doing?
Good.
Excellent.
Holy.
Just remember where you got that.
So, might have been some slight confusion on the correspondence. We're not actually going to do a formal presentation for you tonight. We're hoping you're all going to be at the Leaders Caucus tomorrow to see that, so we didn't think you'd want to see it twice. So I guess just we wanted to introduce ourselves, and then if there were maybe some questions specifically that you wanted answered from Claresholm's perspective or anything like that was certainly available. So we didn't want to take up a bunch of your time during your council meeting. So Barry Morishita, I'm the mayor of the city of Brooks and the president of AUMA, and I'll let Dan introduce
Dan
himself.
Root, I'm the CEO with AUMA and AMSC, and the MCCA that he talked about, that runs out of our office, so.
Yeah, so that's the program that's running for right? So anyway, thank you first of all for Claresholm for hosting our Leaders Caucuses. During my summer tour last year, one of the ideas that came out of it was that, can we move them, split them up, or bring them out? And it's certainly been really successful, so we have record attendance for our Leaders Caucus for the summer. So we're pretty excited. We've had 2 already, one in Valley View and one in Fort Saskatchewan. And we're really looking forward to Claresholm tomorrow and Ponoka on Wednesday. So are there some things specifically about Claresholm, or did you want to know anything about tomorrow? We could answer as many questions as you want, or let you move along on your agenda. That's whatever you want to do.
Well, first, I'd just like to welcome you to Claresholm and tell you how much, like, I really think having these traveling caucus leadership meetings is a big step for you guys. Coming out of Edmonton and meeting in regional areas like this, I think it's a really big step. And I can see why you're having success, because it gives everybody an opportunity to see what's going on and have some input.
Yeah. No, we find it's, when I did my summer tour, I found people were, it's hard at a convention a couple times a year to hear about individual communities. I mean, you have 1,100 delegates there, and everybody's busy doing sessions, and then not everybody has the opportunity to go to everything. So, we're really excited, and we've had great response. So, and we'll be,
I think we've got close to 70 registrants tomorrow.
Yeah.
So it'll be a good turnout.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
yes, well,
very
I think
happy
our
with
total
that.
is nearly 250, close
Yeah.
to 250, which is, I think the biggest leaders caucus in the summer we've ever had is about 180. So that's a significant amount when we get about 1,100. So that's like just about fully a quarter of our membership engaged in the summer caucuses, which is awesome.
That's really good. You guys got anything?
Can I bring some questions tomorrow?
Oh, you absolutely
Yeah.
can. You want to let me know what they are so I can answer them tomorrow? So tomorrow, if you've had a look at the agenda, we're going to talk about the resolution part, because I think we've really made some great changes there that'll help you be a little more engaged and a little more. The resolution session is always an interesting one, because while it's important business, some people become disengaged from the process, but I think we've introduced some things that'll make it better for you. And then I think the other, we're going to have an open discussion as well. So if you have any regional issues or specifically about Claresholm, we'll make sure that we get them on the floor and talk about them. And then the intermunicipal collaboration frameworks, and find out how people are doing. We're going to go through them again. We're not sure. Trying to get a sense of what's going on in the province there. And we've seen some examples so far, some really generous deals. And then we've seen some really bad relationships as well. So we hope to be able to support our members in getting through that process, and also sharing information back and forth to make sure everybody realizes that they're on equal footing, no matter where they are financially, in respect to their partners that they might have to do ICS with, that you are in fact equal partners, and you don't have an ICF unless you agree. So it's one of the messages we're trying to make sure everybody buys into and holds firm on, because it might be your one kind of chance. Anyway, we'll talk more about that tomorrow. So if you don't mind, if you wouldn't mind introducing yourselves and just give me a sense of how long you've been on council, that would be awesome for me.
Lead off, Craig.
Okay. Craig Zimmer. This is
Okay.
my first year.
Oh,
Well,
No,
First term.
second year, first term is what I
Okay.
meant to say. Sorry.
Keith Carlson, first term as well.
okay.
Gavin Moore, first term, right?
Brett Sloshberger, first term.
Mike Cutler, first term.
Ms. Schultz, first term.
Doug McPherson, fourth term.
Okay, first and fourth. So you guys had a big turnover then. So how's that going as far as a learning
Wonderful.
curve? Yeah,
Got a good group.
great.
It's really, things are really coming together in Claresholm in the last 2 years. It's
Yeah.
been great.
Excellent.
That's been good.
Did you guys participate in our Munis 101 program that we did last was it in the fall of
Yeah,
just after the election? Yeah. Did that roll through with you guys
I
at
don't
all?
remember that.
The what?
We were learning a lot back then.
Oh, okay. Okay.
What was it
Marion,
called?
did we do that?
Because you had to do something.
At the AUMA convention, is that the
No.
one you're talking about?
No, it was
It
a
was a
two-day program.
And
No.
everybody had to do
Never
it
heard
at
about
some
that.
point. I don't know if you did it internally. You could deliver the learning internally, or you could have attended one of the
Correct.
sessions that we put on. We had.
We hosted a regional training, and then we did some in-house as well. So
Okay.
Yeah.
just as a reminder, tomorrow as well, we're taking delegates to the convention on a tour of the community, and so we do have arranged with a tour of the custom cannabis
Right.
facility in our industrial area, and then our stormwater ponds. So
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
do
I'm
that.
looking forward to that.
And can we ask you a couple of questions?
You can
So
ask
just
whatever you
give
want.
some
Absolutely.
insight
It's
into-
all your time.
One of the big things I want to ask about is you came up with a proposal last year about cost sharing for the police funding.
Yep.
And whatever happened to that?
So our committee right now is reviewing that. We're supposed to have a report by July. The end of
yeah.
July. So they're going through some scenarios there, and they're going to present that report to the board in July, and then it'll be sent out to our members from there for feedback on the final. So, yep.
I had a meeting with, I had a Mayors and Reeves meeting with the region.
Okay.
Because I was quite concerned about that, and we all talked about it, because we all fall under the 5,000.
Yes.
And we found it to be very, well, more serving the big cities. Like it really, it almost was like proposal to hurt the smaller centers.
Okay.
So I know we sent some strong letters, this region did, but I did get Stavely, Fort Macleod, us, Nanton, the MD of Willow Creek, and Grantham together, and we did formulate some letters that we were going to send out, which you did receive.
Yes, we did, yeah.
But
so I'll give you a sense, yeah, I can answer that a little bit. So it's not meant to be a transfer in to any big centers. This is to add to the police pot, not to offset. So the city of Brooks pays. We don't want money to offset our policing costs. That's not the point of it. So we ran into two issues as I traveled. And it was really born a lot from that, and then of course with some of the changes. So there was a big problem with communities that get over the 5,000 mark. So once you get over 5,000, you're responsible for 70% of your policing budget, which even on at a 5,000 population of 5,000, you're somewhere going to be an attachment depending on anywhere between 5 and 10 members. And so we had members facing $1 million bills in 1 year, 1 calendar year. Which again, that's not acceptable way to bring in policing. The other thing we met with is a lot of communities that were under the 5,000 threshold that had a detachment that was responsible for the area, had no real accountability for policing in the area. And you'll remember some areas were really adversely affected by rural crime. And there was some frustration there with a couple of things. And RCM backfilling RCMP, and then how policing priorities were done in areas that weren't paying for policing, and how the provincial portion of that was kind of set out, and how was their accountability and what happened. So our tact on all of those items has been that the Police Act is really, really old, and the contract with the RCMP doesn't really serve communities very well. So we really wanted to get a sense of how we can actually improve safety and security for communities. But we also do believe, and AUMA's kind of has this principle on a lot of items, is that you have to have some input in there. That doesn't mean that you pay the same as everybody else, because our principles are clearly that everyone should pay, but it should be based on the level of service they want and their ability to pay as well. So this is not like a carte blanche, get a member, it's $150,000. It's a little more nuanced than that, because we recognize that there are a lot of variables. And one of the things that AUMA has always championed is that you don't need one solution for the entire province and for every size of municipality. But we're trying to balance the accountability factor with providing better security to your policing. Because where does your RCMP come from now? It's you have a detachment in Claresholm that's provincial members, right?
And we have a good relationship with them. We quarterly meet with them. They respond to anything. They work well with our peace officer.
Right. So just so you're aware, the RCMP could pull that detachment without notification to you. But they just have that ability. And we don't think those are acceptable things. And we had, and don't get me wrong, we met some communities that had really great relationships with their staff sergeants and with their sergeants, but we met more that didn't. And so we want to try to address those things. We're not sure where the province is going to go, but certainly it's not a transfer of money to centers that are paying. The idea is to provide more money into the pot as people, if there's some equity there that can be. And we don't want to say you're automatically guaranteed. I think there'll be other options. I mean, if you want accountability, you really usually have to ask for some responsibility to pay for the service. So.
Well,
Yep, no, I understand, because it's scary.
You're looking at times when everything's on a rollback.
Yeah.
The grant funding is drying up. Well, it's just not accessible anymore. And everybody's watching their dollars because unemployment is high. And to have a proposal come across which will cost a small center like Claresholm an additional, say, $500,000 even. I mean, that's a substantial part of our budget.
Yeah, we don't know what the final models will be, but initially they were very small contributions that we were looking for people under. We don't know what the final model is going to be. They're going to come up, my understanding is, with several options for that, or a few options anyway.
Okay.
And then we'll see. And it's certainly, we don't have the power to enact, but we certainly want our membership to be able to provide input into those and see if they serve their needs. Accountability was the biggest thing. We had a lot of communities that, you know, you see quarterly, like, so we had some that saw monthly, we saw some that only came once a year, we saw some that came once a year and said, what do you want me to tell you? We had, sometimes they had no idea that they could actually get that information because it had never been shared with them in all their time on council. So we had quite a variation, and we want to see if we can straighten that out a bit. So watch for the report in July, and then we'll look forward to members' feedback on what our final submission looks like.
Great, thanks. Any other questions, guys?
Looking forward to tomorrow.
Yeah, no, that's great.
Alright.
So thank you again for taking the time to meet with us, and yeah, we're really looking forward, and thanks for hosting us, and we're looking forward to our tour tomorrow.
Yeah.
Taking
See
your
you early
time.
in the morning.
All right.
Thank you.
Sounds good, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Thanks.
See you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.
Nice to meet you.
Likewise, thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, see you tomorrow. Sounds good. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Enjoy the rest of your council meeting, hopefully.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll see you later.
See ya.
Okay, our third delegation for the night is Eric Burton from Factor 5.
Hi everybody, how are you?
Good.
I'm just gonna hope that technology's on my side today. Usually 2 fingers works. Okay, here we go. Well, first of all, I want to thank you for having me, and for Councillor Schlossberger for inviting me. So my name is Eric Burton. I'm president and CEO of Factor 5 Group. So I'll talk a little bit about Factor 5. I'll talk a little bit about South Grow program that we're running. I'll talk a little bit about an initial consultation that I've done with staff and touring the community. And if we have time, I'll even share a couple big ideas that might be good, might be bad, but no doubt will spark some interest. So Factor 5 is a social enterprise that's co-created to create sustainable communities. So basically, I'm from a small town in Eastern Ontario, and it was a logging town. My great-grandfather worked on the mill, my grandfather worked on the mill. My dad worked on the mill before he went to work for the federal government. And the mill closed down a long time ago, and there's not a lot of jobs around. So I started volunteering in my community, helped build a hospital foundation, and was on the United Way board, started getting into tourism, and then I served a term on council. And during that time, we bootstrapped an economic development program. And that was where I really learned that I love economic development. Like, that was something that I ran on, but I didn't really understand how passionate I was until I started sneaking out of the house to get to my economic development committee meetings. And that was really the key indicator. So and then I came out to Alberta because the government offered to pay me for the work I was doing for free as a volunteer. And so I've been out here since 2011 working in economic development, first as a manager with the province in regional development that was up north, and then in the Calgary region. And what I found was that at the executive level in the government really wanted to focus on outcomes. Like, what change are you going to make in the world? Not, what are you going to, what are you going to do, but what change will happen because of the things you did. And that's a big shift in the way that government thinks, and a challenging one, because we're really well set up to count the number of people in the room, not what those people go and do because they were in the room, right? So there's a big challenge there. And what I found when I was with the province was I got awards for leadership and igniting innovation. and I got in trouble for leadership and igniting innovation because there, you know, it's a dynamic place. But what we decided to do is create Factor 5, which was a social enterprise. So we're basically still doing economic development with a public mindset, but we're using private sector dynamics to put food on the table. And so that's what Factor 5 is social enterprise. And we focus on economic development expertise and services. And in particular, we focus on innovation, you know, that really uncomfortable edge of excellence. And you know, I mentioned my folks, they work for the federal government, and so it's always been a big question for me is, what does excellence in public service really look like? You know, where are those edges? How far can you push it before you're moving away from excellence? And so that's really what Factor 5 really is meant for, is to push the envelope of excellence through innovation, while ensuring that, you know, you're not moving away from achieving outcomes. You're actually getting closer to outcomes. So in, you know, broad strokes, we have kind of two main services. One is economic development consulting, and this is fairly classic. You know, we respond to the odd RFP, although less and less these days, and we do that kind of quintessential economic development consulting. We also provide a service called Beyond the Office, and basically what this is offering some extra firepower and expertise to economic development departments. So, for example, Rocky View County, we've designed multiple projects. We'll design projects that are maybe 4 phases, and then we take them on one phase at a time. And each phase is like $4,000 or $3,000, $2,000. So instead of committing, you know, to a year and a half worth of this massive project, it can be small pieces. We need research. We need to know what the labor market is in this particular village, or we want to build a labor market profile. We want to attract investment into metal manufacturing. These are all smaller pieces that we're able to support them, and that's why we call it Beyond the Office, because, you know, we're really supporting town staff while working you know, behind the scenes, like, remotely and from you know, the road, etc. So what we've done this past year is create a partnership with Southgrow to really focus on building capacity in the communities that Southgrow serves, and we call it Let's Grow Southgrow. And I mean, its origins are in providing grant writing. That was the initial ask. They wanted to get support for communities in doing grant writing. And what we came up with was a much more nuanced approach to building capacity in communities. And so that's what we've been doing. There are a number of key components of it. First off, it's about identifying funding, helping to bring that forward, highlighting, you know, what deadlines are coming down the pike, offering a free consultation. You know, this sometimes helps people think a little bit differently about their challenges. Then it gets into project design. So in my view, project design is really critical to being able to get grants, because if the people who are reviewing grants, and I've been on that side of the table before, they can tell if it's just an application, right? Or if it's a project that is well thought out and well designed. They can also tell if you're trying to shoehorn an old project into a new grant opportunity, right? And so project design is about being able to custom design a project with your goals in mind and your target grant program goals in mind. So be able to create alignment between those. And then grant writing. So I think that's fairly straightforward. It's about applying the lens of that grant program to what you're trying to do. And then project management. And you know, we're experts in economic development. We love doing these projects. If we could do it for free every day, all day long, that's exactly what we would do. But and so that project management piece is about being able to provide the expert leadership. So I kind of jumped the gun a little bit on this slide, to be honest. But so we put out every month a grant report, and it highlights a number of the key grant programs that are coming down the pike and becoming due. We offer some consultation, so I'll talk a little bit about that more in a few minutes. Project design. So project design is really my favorite part, to be honest, because it's about how you bundle your priorities, right? So you could have if you have a single priority and you want to go get grant money, that's possible, especially if there's a grant program that is perfectly made for that. More often than not, there isn't the perfect grant program. So you need to start saying, okay, well, how do we combine this priority with that priority to create a really innovative and novel project that you've seen one of each of these, but you've never seen it together, which makes it innovative, right? So it's innovative enough to catch the attention of grantors, but not so new that people don't know what you're talking about, right? So you're also then able to create some strategic advantages and make the most of your dollars spent, because you're achieving a number of strategic priorities rather than a single strategic priority. So project design is really important because you can use it to scope in and scope out. I'm going to give you another example. So with the CARES funding, everyone's familiar with the community and regional economic supports. You know, I was successful in helping the client get some funding, and one of the ways that we did it was about choosing the size of the project. In that case, you needed 50%, well, practically 50% dollars down to be able to unlock 50% of the project, right? Now, if you've got a couple options. One way to do it is to say, well, what are we already going to spend money on? All right, we're already planned to spend money, so let's scope that in and bring in this other, and that unlocks whole new money to spend on that something else that's going to make this take it to the next level, right? So it's about being creative in how you design your projects to be able to achieve multiple goals. Grant writing, you know, two key pieces. One is the lens. What is the lens that the grant program is going through? Like, what is their priority? And you know, so we look at what the minister is saying. We look at what the business plan of the ministry is, and then we walk it all the way down to specifically what they've said. And the reality is, most of the time, there are a handful of buzzwords that you can find out from staff, from provincial staff or federal staff, the actual words that they're looking for, and then you can emphasize those and start to build the narrative around those key words, so that you're speaking the language that they want to hear. You're giving the minister the story he wants to get up and tell people, right? But it's your story, and it's underpinned by your priorities. Now, in the project management component, we believe expert leadership plus capacity building equals high impact sustainable outcomes. So what I mean by capacity building here is that our focus isn't on on delivering reports. Our focus is on achieving outcomes that reports enable, right? A report is actually a means to the end. It's not the end in and of itself. And that is often where we get hung up, is here's a study. Well, a study is only so good as the people on the ground who know what that study is for, why we did the study, what it is leading to, what the insights set the path for. And that is what we focus on building in our client communities, is really building up the capacity of the community for long-term outcomes, not a quick single project. And what this means is, what we end up doing is our clients are really the community, and we look for opportunities to serve that community as much as possible. And we do a lot of pro bono work to help fill in the gaps, because my long-term goal is that the community is successful, and I can be proud of my contribution to that, not that we made a buck and then we went on our way. So an example of that is we when we do economic development strategy, we provide a lifetime review of that. So if it's 10 years, for 10 years, we'll be in Crossfield offering advice and support in their implementation of their strategy, because we stand by that strategy for the whole lifetime of that of its cycle. So, so before we get into some of what we found when we started to connect in with Claire's home, any questions about the South Grow program?
No, we're good.
Okay. So, so when I got the email from Councillor Schlossberger inviting me to come out, I said, okay, well, yeah, I'd love to come out and talk, but I really should first connect in with town administration, right? Because I think it's really important to make sure there's alignment, and I don't want to be blindsiding anybody. But I also wanted to do some homework, and so right away, Marion sent me some documents that I was able to go through and get a sense of where the community is at, and I could take a long time because I was excited about a lot of pieces here. But the thing that really stood out to me in the town strategic plan is the focus on innovation and progressive thinking. Right off the bat, front page of the strategy, and I thought, okay, this sounds like a community that that is going in the right direction. Then on the economic development strategy, there's like really good coherent linkages between what you're saying you're going to do as a town, and then when you bring it down to closer to the ground, all those pieces really fit in, and I was excited to see that as well. So then when I came here, like there was, I gotta say, there was immediately a really positive vibe here. Like from the front desk, I walked in and I was greeted by name, came in, got to meet with Brady and Tara, and right away we were up looking at the maps, we were picking each other's brains, and there's a really positive energy. And to be honest, like you don't get that in a lot of communities. You don't have that kind of positive energy, really focused on achieving big results. So it's exciting, the kind of team that Marion and you have put together here. So what we heard was that you've got a multi-use facility you really need funding for. You have a Starline Business Park that is freshly developed ASP. You've got stormwater needs. You've got brownfields that you would like to see developed. You've got a downtown that you want to be, the heart of your community for generations to come. We also have an interesting project coming down the pike, some workforce development opportunities with immigrants, an immigrant program, pilot program that's coming, and I think that creates some really interesting opportunities.
There you. Okay. Motion to come out of in camera. Councillor Schlossberger, all in favor of coming out of in camera? Carried. A couple of motions. The first one is the intergovernmental relationship. Marion will give us a quick overview.
Yeah, so this is just a renewal of the contract with Granum for the financial services for 1 more year.
Councillor Cutler. All in favor? Carried. Next one
Do you want
is.
that motion read before they
No,
vote on it?
that was pretty quick.
Yes.
It's late.
Okay.
Moved by Councillor Cutler to execute the 1-year extension on the financial services contract with the town of Granum with the same terms and rates.
Everybody vote again. Still carried. Okay, next one, personnel. This is about the swimming pool.
I'll make that motion to hire Meadow Liversuch.
Question?
Moved by Councillor Schultz to hire Meadow Liversuch to a junior lifeguard position at the Claresholm Aquatic Center.
All in favor? Carried. And Councillor Carlson?
I would like to make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Wow, okay. We are adjourned.